Hey YouTube, it is me, Maxter, and I am back today with Behind the Mod episode 2, and this is the series, in case you missed it, the first episode will be in the description, where we interview content creators from Minecraft, mod pack developers, mod authors, whatever they create, about their creative process, changing Minecraft and their experiences with that, their interactions with the Minecraft community, and all that great stuff. For this episode, we will be interviewing Ivorius, who has created many famous mods, such as Psychedelic Craft and Recurrent Complex. Without further ado, let us begin the interview. Hello YouTube, I'm here with Ivorius, who is the Minecraft mod author behind Psychedelic Craft, Pandora's Box, Recurrent Complex, and I think I'm going to pronounce this really badly, Yigamel Chattels. Hey Ivorius.
Hey, what's up?
So can you fill us in a little bit on your background and how you got involved with this beautiful mess that is Minecraft modding?
Well, basically, back in 2011, my forum page says August 2011. I got kind of bored and I wanted to start something new. And well, Minecraft was like a big thing that was just well getting very huge at the time. There was no Forge back then or anything, but still Minecraft grew very big. And so I basically wanted to start making my own mods for the community. And I started with the Game of Shuttles, which is was called back then Middle Age Mod, which I understandably changed at some point.
Yeah.
And basically from then on, I started making everything I wanted to do, which is a very wide range of projects. There was the Game of Shuttles, of course, at first. Shortly after, I made Pandora's Box. I think next was Psychedelic Craft. Back then it was called Alcohol Craft. Yeah, I think Alcohol Craft or something. And shortly after that, I got into Minecraft Cubed with Mike Lee, which was very fun. And well, also the Gravity Craft thing. I think that was like before Minecraft Cubed. I'm not too sure at this point. And well, after that, at some point, I think that was like a year ago now, I started with Recurrent Complex, and that's pretty much at the point I'm now.
So you've done a lot of stuff, and I think what's really unique about you is with your mod design, lots of your choices, we don't really commonly see in our community. You seem to place like a high value on aesthetics and immersiveness, and wait for it, you use and develop on OS 10 or a Mac. So with all these kind of, what's it like to be, so special in this community of ours?
Well, you don't really see people talking about it that much, I think. I mean, I get the occasional very engaged people talking with me. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was a little bit more active in the community at some point. For example, I mean, Minecraft. I had a lot of talk with him, for example, or also other engaged members of the community. But I don't really get like lots of feedback for like how different my mods are, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I noticed, like, just even with their naming conventions, like, going from Medieval Craft to Yigamel Chattels and all these names, like, your mods just have the best names. But I want to talk a little bit about Pandora's Box, which is, I think, one of the first random risk or reward style item mods we saw. And we've seen lots of mods inspired by that. The infamous Lucky Blocks that have risen exponentially in popularity. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's I mean, it was pretty much inevitable that something like this happened. I don't think I had much great part in like influencing the direction these kinds of mods will take in the future. Pandora's Box was basically a small little thing that I wanted to do myself, for myself mostly, because I thought it would be fun to have random things happening and just be entertained by yeah, just random happenings, just yourself and basically the game, what it has to offer from the box out. And I think Lucky Blocks might have been influenced by it, and some of the other mods too, whatever came around. But mostly I think that they would have been made either way, um, because it's just a very basic concept.
Yeah.
Like
I,
you just have things happening, and like I said, you're entertained by some random thing. I think there's like similar mods for this for other games too,
mhm.
very probably. So yeah.
Yeah, one of the cool things I found with Pandora's Box that I don't think I saw with any other mod is just when you open it, all the effects and the particles and everything, just really crazy. And I think let's talk about Psychedelic Craft, which I think is the best example of this. There's a variety of let's just call them influences that give unique shaders and these visual effects. And there's even all these visual enhancements that are made globally, it's like lens flare and the motion blur and the water effects you have in there. I don't think we've seen many mods do this, or at least we definitely didn't used to. So what kind of inspired you to go all out crazy with that stuff?
Well, like many other mods I made, it basically started as something I wanted to learn, I wanted to program, and also wanted to play at the same time. Like two concepts combined, something I wanted to make and something I wanted to play. And well, at that point in time, I basically wanted to try out what you can do with shaders, with OpenGL and everything. Of course, when I started it, I didn't have any shader engine at all. It was just well, the basic alcohol effect was the first that was there. Like I said, it was called Alcohol Craft at the beginning,
Hmm.
and it was basically just the nether portal effect, with the screen wobbling around a bit and a purple overlay.
Yeah.
Um, as kind of a simulation for alcohol. But of course, I got better with the time, and improved the effects. And it's basically just a lot of fun to well play with the shaders, see what you can do, and what kind of effects it's bringing around.
So it kind of evolved over time. That you added this, you added this. You thought that would be cool, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. That's basically what all my projects boil down to. I start with a simple thing, and then I have some time and just play with the concept
Huh.
a lot.
Yeah, one of the concepts I think I'm not sure if you were one of the earlier ones to do this, but I know Yugamo Chattels, which is the medieval decoration mod. There's a system of micro blocks of sorts for decoration. Do you think you were early to that? Like, what was going on with that?
The microblocks themselves, I've had the idea for a long time. I think before the first kinds of mod did this,
Hmm.
but back when I started with the mod, back when this was called the Middle Age mod, I didn't really have the capability to program something like this. So when I made it, I think there was like in some other system too. I'm not sure if FMP was around. Certainly not Chisel and Bits, which basically does the same thing now for the newer versions,
Oh yeah, I've seen
um,
that.
which is also pretty cool. But yeah, it wasn't around at the start of the mod, so um, like anything else, I just added it later, and
Huh.
I probably wasn't the first to do it. Like I said, I'm not too sure. It's been a while now too.
Huh. Yeah, I think that's definitely like it just blew my mind when I saw it. Like, whoa, this like here's this decoration mod and it just has this system of microblocks in it. Like, whoa. Um, if I remember correctly, well, you mentioned this. You were part of this kind of team of modders working on this big Minecraft overhaul called Cubed, not too long ago before that project I think was canceled. So, what was your experience with that, and what happened to Cubed?
Well, that's certainly a very interesting story. It's like I don't know if you remember, but Mike Lee was one of the first big names in the Minecraft modding community, and also like he did Q&A and customer service for Notch for a while.
Huh.
So he was involved with them, and at some point he started a very big project, also a Minecraft overhaul project called EVMC, Even Minecraft,
Mm-hmm.
and they developed on that for a while. And it was basically just uh, everything they wanted to do. There was loads of random features all around. They just added everything they wanted to, and at some point they just thought to themselves like, well, this is too much. We should make our own engine instead of making this project in Minecraft. because it's a lot of work, of course, to update everything. If you have so many things, that was probably also around, yeah, that was before Forge, also. So it was basically all base class edits, which means that when you have to update your mod, you are basically almost rewriting it in its entirety, every single version.
So really down and dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said on themselves they shouldn't continue this project. And Mike Lee got with all the other people, they got involved in making their own game. But at some point they basically split up, or at least McLeese split up from the rest of the team, and wanted to get back into Minecraft modding. And that was when he started with Cubed, which was like the same concept of EVMC, but more streamlined, less random features, more well, he wanted like a storyline, for example, and progressive system, all of that kind of stuff. And he was basically, I think it was when I first got into the ISCs, Minecraft Forge, and all these channels, and he basically made advertisement for his new project, looking for coders, which was already pretty hard at the time. It's always hard to get people involved in your project.
Yeah.
So you have to look for a long time. But I didn't have much to do at the time for some reason, and I thought, well, this might be fun. I know Mike Lee, I know EVMC, and maybe I want to get involved in this. And so I hit him up, and he said, well, you can basically help us with the coding. At that point, I had already made Gravity Craft, so it was out of the question that I was able to help with the project. And well, after that, there was like, I think a year or so of development, looking for members and what kind of other drama, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot
we get a lot of that.
things that happened at the time.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things, I think, this is like a trademark of the Minecraft community, is the drama in the community, which does great things and terrible things.
Yeah.
And I think Cubed had there were a lot of ideas in it that I think, if I remember right, are kind of, some of them are seen in your mods now. So
yes.
Can you give us some examples of that?
Well, one of the things that I thought was one of the biggest features from Cubed that I wanted to keep for future projects was the well, structure spawning aspect of it, which I put a lot of work into, and like thought work, but also coding work, to make it works, to make something that can be used very generally, something that is filling the hole that was in the modding community at the time, which was like structure spawning. And that basically got its own mod, which I'm almost exclusively working on right now, which, Recurrent Complex, of course.
Yep.
But there's also some other smaller features that I wanted to have in other mods. There was, for example, the loot chest, which I actually didn't make myself. It was somebody else, but I had to rework it a bit to get it included, which is now in the game mod shuttles, for example.
Huh.
There's a few of these smaller features, but the biggest one, of course, is Recurrent Complex.
Yeah, and Recurrent Complex was, I guess, partly born from that, and lots of people have compared it to Atomic Striker's Old Ruins mod. And I think, I believe, and most would agree, that Recurrent Complex has at this point far surpassed it in terms of features, of just being able to do all these things, mazes, and how you generate structures, and with GUIs for everything. So what made you decide to go for a much more, I guess, visual approach to letting players customize what they've built, rather than like JSON or, a text-based thing?
Well, it's funny you say that, because actually it's all JSON underneath, or at least most of it. But I'm basically making the GUI for it additionally. You can also just edit the text files if you prefer, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the idea was pretty much born in Cubed. We were thinking about like all the kinds of aspects the game was lacking, in our opinion. Of course, Minecraft is just a very big sandbox game. and we wanted something more of it, something more taking something more. Which is why we wanted to add the storyline, for example. And one of the biggest things we felt was missing is like the exploration and dungeon RPG kinds of aspects.
Yeah.
To have a decent storyline in first person, you have to basically add some kinds of RPG elements most of the time, or at least that's one of the most direct approaches you can take to making a complete game. And that's where questing comes in, where dialogues come in. All parts of Cubed at some point. And one of the other things is of course pre-designed sites that you can go to, you can explore. You need that kind of stuff for quests, for progression, like
make the world kind of alive. Yeah.
Yeah, not only that, actually, there's, I mean, Recurrent Complex mostly does natural generation, or at least that's what it's advertising. But it was also intended for pre-made dungeon kinds of things. We wanted to have like a meta world in another dimension that you don't build yourself, where you basically play in adventure mode in that world, and so you can't just edit things. So at some point during the storyline, it would change around. There would be more or less buildings, terrain, what the fuck? I mean, well, kinds of different things, and that's basically where we needed a structure spawn in Mod 2.
Yeah, to do that, I think we saw like hack/mine and now runic dungeons. There's lots of mods for that, and recurrent complexes. I think probably the best way to do that yourself if you don't want to get down and dirty into code. But yeah, what's the coolest, do you think, implementation of Recurrent Complex in terms of like an adventure map style or just natural generation that you've seen?
You mean like people using it?
Yeah, like people using it to make some sort of adventure map, or just to make custom structures generate in just randomly in the world.
Well, I've had a few people hit me up with questions about their projects. Some people were making kinds of different dungeons. Some people were making very big spawn structures for their projects, and they're all very interesting in their own rights. But of course, I don't see everything that people make. There's been like 5 to 10 people which hit me up for that, and I always think they're like I said, interesting in their own right. But it's hard to compare like what's the most or the biggest thing that somebody made. Some of these, of course, were also made before using Recurrent Complex, and Recurrent Complex is just the method of bringing that into the world, and it's not really used in depth with some of these. So, like I said, hard to compare.
Yeah, well, it's a great tool. Like personally, I've used it on one of my mod packs to have like a spawn structure, because it was just the easiest way for me to do that. And I've seen lots of cool. The maze thing is just crazy and crazy in depth. But yeah, that Recurrent Complex is just an insane mod. But let's talk a little more about I guess general Minecraft. With the last few updates to the game itself, let's just say haven't been very popular with modders, to put it lightly. So what do you think of the changes that Mojang's made post 1.7, and are they for the better or worse overall, and how much do you have to change?
Well, I have to confess, after 1.8, I haven't really followed it very much, because I haven't updated to 1.8 myself yet. There's been like the elytras, I think, like flying features. I think
dual wielding.
I think they're all very interesting features that can influence the game for the better. But they're all not like huge game changes. They don't like change the way you change the you play the game in its entirety, which is probably good. I mean, it's a working project, and why change something in its entirety that's already doing its job, right? The game that Notch designed back when he started, you basically are still playing mostly the same game, or at least from InfDev on. just with more features.
Yep.
So I don't think it's very controversial. People are overreacting a little bit at many points.
I meant more from like, I
The
guess, a technical level, because lots of people complained about the new model system in 1.8, and I think 1.9, the offhand, the whole two hands thing has been pretty hard for Forge to implement, if I remember correctly. But have you run into like any huge roadblocks with that? Any big frustrations?
Well, definitely. I mean, think about it from an outside perspective. It's like many of the features were long overdue. Like the blog post class is one of the biggest changes code-wise. Well, technically, it just means that a lot of methods have been changed, and you have to change a lot of your code to match it. Just very boring web that takes a lot of time to update to. But if you come from it from a new mods perspective, it's definitely a better environment now to program in than it was before. Just the updating aspect of it is very bad, which is why I'm not updating all of my mods myself.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
I definitely agree with you there where I mean, I'm not a programmer, but it just seems to me like the changes, people complain because they always do, and updating is a huge pain because lots of people have to rewrite huge portions of the mods. But I do think I do agree that I'm not of the better than wolves perspective where we should stay on one version, make that version great. I think it's always good to adopt changes, and because those are better for newcomers, and that's always something we want.
yeah, I mean, back in the day, there were many changes too in earlier versions, like the when I started modding, we had, for example, the texture sheet. I think I'm not sure what it was called, but you had to add all of your textures in one file, for example,
Ooh.
and to update from that was also very annoying because you had to adapt to the new system, get the files all separated into different ones. I mean, the textures into different files.
Hmm.
It was a lot of work, but ultimately it was a far superior approach to handling files than just leaving it at the old system. Back when I started, modding was very hard at some points. You've had to do a lot of things to just accomplish very little,
Hmm.
and that definitely improved a lot over the years.
Yeah, I think that's a big theme with Minecraft in general. Just kind of like the game was not exactly perfect in its initial in dev and alpha releases, and over time Mojang has just been working on polishing it and I guess improving it on that level. But for you, I guess what lies ahead in terms of mods, like a new mod, updating mods, planning another big project?
Um, well, I wish I had the time to properly update all of my mods. I would definitely do it if it wasn't so annoying.
Hmm.
Um, like I would take care of all the ones that I'm maintaining right now. But it looks like I'm only gonna get time for Recurrent Complex and Pandora's Box for the moment.
Hmm.
Um, and also because of my own personal life, like studying, all that kind of stuff, I'm probably not taking on another big project anytime soon.
Hmm. So just mainly focusing on updating to 1.8 and 1.9.
Yeah, pretty much, and expanding Recurrent Complex because I think it's one of the uh, biggest or most useful mods I've made, and I really like to get it done, or at least get all the features implemented I envisioned for it.
Yeah, I think Recurrent Complex is definitely at this point your flagship mod, and I'm surprised more people haven't picked it up. But I have seen it, on Reddit and IRC. People are getting more and more into it, and that's cool. So, but yeah, thanks for coming on to be interviewed. Thanks for your discussions, your replies. Uh, just been great having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.